Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a little warm-up preparation. You can do this every single time you want to draw or want to get into some kind of day of art. So the technique I'm going to be doing is actually one I learnt from doing live drawing sessions when I was back at college, and it's basically drawing the spaces in between the object. It sounds a bit more complicated than it actually is, but basically this is my subject. It's just a nice little parsley plant, but it has a lot of negative space. When I talk about negative space, I'm on about these bits of spaces in between where you can see there's little different shapes, so you kind of break it up, draw the segments in between, which actually ends up forming the shape without actually drawing the lines. You just think of it as drawing shapes, if that makes any sense. So just going to crack on with it. The material I'm going to be using is charcoal, because I haven't used it in such a long time. I feel like I just want to use it. So naturally it's going to be quite messy. And the cartridge paper I'm using is just some really nice cartridge paper from Amazon. I'll leave a link down in the description box below if you're interested. It's probably the best paper I've used. You could pretty much use it for anything, including printmaking, which is very important for me because I use a lot of printmaking in my day-to-day life. So yeah, let's just start, shall we? I'm just going to start with this very defining shape. Beside it's got a couple more of the same shapes a bit lower down here. I always love live drawing. I never get the chance to do as much as I used to because you need an actual person to do it, but I suppose an object can do just about the same amount of justice. But unfortunately the object can't really move about. Charcoal is very, I want to say, vigorous material. Basically you can't control it as much as the rest of the materials because it is so messy. So if you really don't like getting messy, this is not the material for you. Also, like when you get little bits of debris, if you just blur it away, if you don't like these marks that appear on the paper, you can just rub them off, but I think they add a bit of, I want to say, like shadow and a bit mysterious context to it. Because the stems are very, very close together, you're going to get a lot of these spaces until you get to the bigger parts. See that really nice, delicate marks. This is a massive space down here. That I think I'm going to draw out. Really sorry if you don't like that sound. It's kind of looking like a segment of your hand, you know what I mean, if you think those two bits are like up here, which is kind of cool. It's just weird how like when you're drawing something it can look like something else completely, and then at the very last second it'll actually look like what it wants to look like, but not necessarily. Sometimes it actually looks better in the earlier stages, which might happen here, but you just don't know until you get to the very end bit. Then again, you don't really have to ever complete your artwork. If you think it's complete at that stage and you don't want to do any more because it might ruin it, then you can just call it a day, and then that's fine. Very subjective, and it's not like anyone's going to be comparing what you're drawing to what it's meant to look like. Unless you're into the realism, which is drawing photographically, if that's the technique. That's what I want to call it. Put your top back on. No! So I don't know if you can hear that, but my partner's just gone back. He's going to have a shower, so you might hear some creaking. Not to say he's old, he's just... a bathroom needs to be redone. Okay, it's a really nice, not triangular section there. Then you might be able to begin to see some of the stems and what I've been drawing, but it's very, very hard, and again it is in the early stages. There's a lot of triangles to be drawn in this. I've noticed as well. That kind of looks more like a hand now. this next bit gets very like fiddly because you've got all this open negative space compared to like down in this direction. So I think I'm just going to add in this last bit here on this bottom section. Actually does really work with using a black piece of paper and then using white chalk on top of it. That's quite a nice technique as well, but using it also as like where the light's hitting the plant, which can be rather difficult because comparing it just to a black and white image, like say we've got a bottle of black ink, it's easier to see where the light is hitting because the contrast is so well sharp compared to green, which it literally goes a little bit yellow, but you can still achieve quite a good technique and piece from it, but it's just a very much it is just a lot harder to achieve, I find. Then again, you could be a pro. These two bits here are the segments where it just goes into the soil. So instead of making it into a shape, I kind of just draw downwards. And then this is where the useful little marks that you blow away the dust come into hand, because they just give something textured wise to the surface and makes it not so sharp, which is quite nice of a technique down here, including up here as well. But obviously you can rub them out if you want to. It's a bit more complicated because you've got all the little leaves and you just don't have the stems anymore. Just bring you down a little bit. Okay, I think I'm just going to put a little bit of detail in here because this is where you need to begin to, well, you don't necessarily have to finish it, but for me, I want this composition to be quite light-hearted and not complete, because at the point it could be a lot better when it's unfinished than compared to when it actually is finished, because it'll be very heavy on the page because it is black charcoal compared to using black paper with white charcoal, which tends to be very light. I don't want it to be too dark. There's a little segment down here I forgot to put in as well. That just kind of brings it down a little bit. Just going to draw in little section up here. Because that bit goes off into the background, I don't need to draw the shape, but because this part is much more of the plant material, it just has that little section where you can kind of tell that something big and obstructive is there. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm really happy with this. This is definitely a warm-up technique that anyone can use to any object. Obviously, as long as there's negative space and it's not too blocky, you can use it to your advantage. You don't necessarily have to just use it for warm-up. I like to do it for my life drawings, or if I only have a short amount of time, because you can achieve quite a lot if you're not talking like me. Drawing a negative space drawing within probably 5 minutes. And it doesn't have to be this big, it could be A5, A4, whatever it takes your pick. So on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Let me know what you think in the description box, in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out my description box to links to all my social medias and also my eBay selling account, which is where you can support me by buying some of my work if you would like to. That'd be great. I hope to see you again, and yeah, thanks now. Bye!